The Attila Museum Relic is here. So, is one of my favorite commanders in Rise of Kingdoms getting a much needed buff? Or is it just another useless commander getting another useless buff? Join me to find out. The Attila Relic is finally here. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I could not be more excited for this update. I have been waiting for Attila to become viable again in Rise of Kingdoms for years. Let me take you back to a great time. It was way back when Attila was first released and there was no garrison that could stop him. Attila and Takeda were dominating flags, Zeno hadn't been released yet, and everything was great in the world. But alas, that's not the world we live in anymore. Attila is not even a top 3 march if you're a cavalry main, and so hopefully this relic, which will give you cavalry defense plus 5% and skill damage reduction plus 3%, will make a huge difference for Attila. But without further ado, I did the testing for you, and let's actually figure out if it made any difference whatsoever. So while we jump into this, I want to make sure I set the context for you guys. We did 3 different tests for Attila. We did one fully naked with no city skin whatsoever. This is no city skin, fully naked, no armaments, no equipment, nothing. We then did one that was a test with equipment, and this was my equipment versus Gainz gaming equipment. Let's check out what my equipment was as part of this test, shall we? So this is the equipment that I used during our tests. As you can see, here are the buffs that I got from the equipment. I recognize that equipment adds some variability to the testing. I tried my best to minimize this as much as I could, but I do understand that that is a risk that you take when you do equipment testing. But I did want it to be somewhat realistic. We did a third test, which then enabled the use of formations. We did not use armaments, but we did use formations. We didn't use armaments because that adds even more variability and everyone has different armaments, but your formation buffs are going to be pretty consistent from player to player. So without further ado, let's take a look at some of these reports to try and get an understanding of how everything did. And we began our testing with Attila Takeda versus Ho Chi Bing with Joan of Arc. And with Joan of Arc, we waited the 30 seconds for Ho Chi Bing's skill before we attacked each other. We had War Frenzy each and every time. And this was a very consistent test. I do recognize there may be a little bit of variability within Attila and Takeda skills, but realistically, I thought these were pretty fair tests, and you can see them on the top left side of your screen now, right above my head. You can watch the duels as we went through them. So, our very first duel, you can see that Attila Takeda got absolutely wrecked. This was our naked duel. Here are our troop buffs. You can see that we didn't have any equipment. Neither of us did. I'm VIP 17, and I don't think that Gainz is. Oh, he is as well. So we're both VIP 17, and these are just the raw buffs. I lost 116,000 power. He lost 49,000, and he did more than 2-to-1 damage to me in terms of my trades. So let's take a look at our next one. This is where equipment comes in. Honestly, you heard my opinion. I think equipment adds a lot of variability, but these are our baseline tests. We were just trying to get an idea of how everything worked. Now, the other thing I'll call out as part of this, this is Attila Relic testing. We'll have a video coming out tomorrow with Takeda Relic testing. So if you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right-hand corner, and hit the bell so you do get notified when that episode comes out. That said, stick around till the end of the video because I did do some testing with Attila Relic and Takeda Relic within this video. It'll also be in tomorrow's video as well. So as you can see, we added our equipment here. You saw mine. I'll pop Gainz on the screen for you right now. That'll be on the top right side of your screen. And immediately what you can see here is the trades are just about the same. It was still 2-to-1. I took 30,000 severely wounded. In the first round, I took 29,000. It's pretty much the same. And then severely wounded, I dealt a lot more severely wounded. In fact, I think equipment may have actually been better for me than it was for Gainz in this first duel. So here's the troop buffs that we got as a consequence of the equipment. You can see that it actually made a pretty substantial difference. He's got me beat on health. I've got him beat on attack. But overall, that was how this duel went. I'm not really surprised. I expected Attila to lose in our baseline testing. Hopefully the Relic makes a difference. Fingers crossed. And last but not least, let's take a look at our third duel. This was when we added the formation. I used the arch formation for Attila Takeda. If I were you, I would always use the arch formation for Attila Takeda. That is typically the way that you're going to want to run them. He used the wedge formation for Ho Chi Bing with Joan, which totally makes sense. And as you can see, I got obliterated. He did even better this time than he did the first time, which sucks. My trades were just about the same as they've been pretty consistently throughout here. And overall, the formation hurt me, which is to be expected because that skill damage buff, the 5% skill damage buff, makes a huge difference when you're using Ho Chi Bing with Joan, especially because you're cycling Joan's skills so frequently that you're really compounding that skill damage buff. Here you go. Here's the report. So then we said, okay, well, let's add the Relic to Attila and see what happens. In a perfect world, this means that everything is going to get better for him, right? Wrong. So now let's take a look at how everything shook out once we added the new Attila Relic. So this first duel, we actually did keep the equipment on because that was the easiest for testing. You can see the Relic is right there. I've got my 5% cavalry defense. And unfortunately, it really didn't make that much of a difference. So here you are. I believe this is also using the formation in this particular duel. Yeah, you can see normal damage of 12%, and normal damage here should also be 12%. Let's just double check that. Yep, 12%. So this was the identical duel to this one. And what you'll see here is the Relic made pretty much no difference for me. I took just about the same amount of damage. Equipment does come into play here, so that could be part of it. But what you will notice is I actually dealt more damage. So this was probably one of the best duels in terms of damage, if we take a look at it, although the second duel was better. So I did deal more damage, which was good, but overall the Relic really didn't make much difference for me here, which I was really disappointed by. So in this next one, I believe that we also kept our equipment, but we got rid of our formation. So if we go down here, you can see normal damage is back to 7.5%. Overall, not much better here either. So as you can see, I took a little bit less damage, which was good because he's not getting that skill damage buff, which is a huge relief. And if we compare this to the previous one, you can see that was where I really got wrecked. But overall, I mean, the difference here is so negligible. It's really just about how much damage I'm dealing, which is nice because I am dealing a little bit more damage in both of these duels. And when we got rid of the formation, I did deal more damage because my expectation is maybe I lasted a little bit longer in the field. So that's probably what happened there. So that was without any formation. But as you guys know, I have a strong dislike for equipment. So we did one that was naked. And this one I think is perhaps the most telling because, again, everything was kept pretty much consistent. I dealt 57% power loss to him, which compared to the first is pretty substantial. That's a pretty big gap there. And then my power damage lost is just about the same. So I dealt more damage and I took less, which was nice. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with this. I think the Relic makes a difference, but as you can see here, it doesn't make that substantial of a difference. So if you're wondering, is this Relic going to make Attila the meta? Probably not. But we do have to check how Attila did with Takeda, because realistically, you're running Attila Takeda, or you're using Attila with a Relic with someone like Gorgo in a artifact KVK. So that does make a difference. So let's actually see exactly how Attila does with the Relic. So here we go. We have Attila with the Relic and Takeda with the Relic now. And this, I believe, let's double check here. We have our 12% normal attack damage. So this is with formation and with equipment. This was not bad. So we have 119.9k power lost, and we dealt 62k damage. I believe this might be the most damage we dealt out of any of them. Yeah, this was the most damage. And that makes sense, because if we take a look here, Takeda's Relic is really substantial. It gives you 10% additional cavalry health and 5% additional march speed. The march speed's not going to make a difference here, but that cavalry health does make a huge difference. It makes you tankier, it keeps you in combat longer, and it's going to be substantial. The other thing that's nice about this, and just for field presence, is if you're running Attila Takeda, this does mean you're going to be able to run away just a little bit faster, which honestly, if you're running Attila Takeda in the field, you probably want. So I was really pleased with this. But again, there is some equipment variability there in formations as well. So let's take a look at how it went when we got rid of the formations. As you can see, it was nearly identical. Like, so much so that the formation really did nothing. And I'm kind of surprised by that, just because we saw how effective the formations were previously. But overall, I mean, I'm pleased with this. We dealt a ton of damage. We actually dealt a little bit less damage, which is to be expected, and we took a little bit more. But overall, I'm fine with this. I still don't think Attila Takeda are going to be the new meta March. But, ladies and gentlemen, the last duel, let's check it out. Attila Takeda versus Ho Chi Bing with Joan of Arc with no equipment. This is a naked one. As you can see here, we're back to 7.5% normal attack damage dealt, and we have both of our relics here. Overall, not that substantial. This was the best naked testing that we had. As you can see, it was 61.6% power damage dealt. But honestly, I'm kind of underwhelmed. So this concludes our testing. My recommendation, if you use Attila or Takeda, get the relics. But candidly, I don't think they're going to be coming back as a meta pair in the game. To my own dismay. If you've enjoyed, drop a like on the video, hit share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right-hand corner. Helps me out a ton, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed. Again, Takeda testing video will be coming out tomorrow. Thank you all. Shappy out.